So you know I'm a big fan of fun books, and this is no exception. This is called Syllabus by Lynda Barry. It looks and feels like a composition book. It's even got the cloth binding on the back. It's really quite cool, and the paper, rather than being sewn or, well, it is stitched, but rather being bound or anything, it's just pieces of paper that are folded in half, just like the composition books. So it's rather cool in construction. And it's called, or the subtitle is Notes from an Accidental Professor, and it's basically Lynda Barry's, or copies of Lynda Barry's creative notes that she made as she was working through a teaching semester. So there's all sorts of things in here, and it's fantastic to just dip in and out of and have a look at. So she's got, it actually says here, this is a book of notes, drawings and syllabi I kept during my first 3 years of teaching in the art department, University of Wisconsin-Madison. The chronology is rough and mixed up in places, but all kept by hand on pages of either legal pads or in a standard black and white marbled composition notebook. Okay, so this is basically copies of her notes. I assume she's redone it so that it's legible, because most people wouldn't work like this straight off. But you can imagine this actually being her composition notebook. It's almost like looking through her actual notes. So it's pretty cool. I really like it. I have only gone through a few of the pages. I haven't actually started reading it yet. I've only read, I think, up to here. But I love the fact that she's got all sorts of things in. She's got journal entries, she's got notes, she's got stuff stuck in, she's got quotes. This is a quote from Rumi. She's got smaller pages where she's got things like her class schedules and expectations from the class and things like this. She's got pages where she's crossed out stuff because it's got student words and student names in it and things. She's got things like this, what is a bad drawing, and little, you know, little pictures drawn by a student in less than a minute and coloured by another. Is it bad? Is it art? You know, these are really fun exercises on liking and not liking. And she's just got little doodles and things in here. Some very thought-provoking questions as well, like I like it, I don't like it, it doesn't matter. Hundreds of pictures of superheroes and Batman. And then she's got more professional looking pages, or more illustrative looking pages, where she's obviously taken time to do things. So this is notes on making comics and other graphic formation art, and it's got, you know, it's got her notes on when her classes are, Mondays and Wednesdays 1:20 to 3:50, art 448, which is probably like the class thing or something, application instructions, making comics 2013, tumblr.com. So, and then it gives you a little snippet about what they were doing in the class and why she created this page in the first place. So yeah, it's a really fascinating book. It's not like anything I've ever seen before, and it makes me feel a whole lot better about my own class notes, I have to say, because I don't show my class notes very often, because it actually looks like this. People think when you're a teacher that your notes are going to be, you know, very organised and beautifully written, and you'll have lots of diagrams and things like that. But in actual fact, I spend an awful lot of time, you know, doodling superheroes and trying to work out what I'm going to do for the next class, because an awful lot of what you do when you're preparing to teach is done in your head. And I tend to use my book just as a creative outlet to give me ideas of what I could use it for, what I could do, you know, just warm-ups. This is the kind of thing I might do if I'm deciding what we're going to do for a class. I'll just sketch and doodle while I'm thinking about it and try out things and try out colours and stuff. But not in any formal way, just in a fun way. Because when I teach, I basically have my little post-it full of notes and I go for it and I teach while I'm doing the class. I don't practice what I'm going to do in advance or anything. I just play with stuff and decide what I'm going to do. So yeah, my teaching notes tend to look very much like this, although I wouldn't want to publish them. I think it's very brave of her to have published this, although obviously this is not an entire 3 years worth of notes. If she does this just for one part of one class, then she's probably got hundreds of these that she's gone through in 3 years. But yeah, it's fascinating. I can't wait to not just to look through it at the art, but also to read all of this stuff and get ideas from it and play with it and come up with ideas of my own for it and perhaps answer some of the questions, you know. Where do cartoon characters come from? And she makes observations like, in over 30 years of drawing, I've never thought one up. I just draw and they seem to happen. They seem to show up on the page. So, homework information, things like that. It's a really fascinating book, especially if you're a teacher. And even more so if you're an art teacher. Because this really is just a visual artist, a visual thinker, a visual learner, making their own notes in the way that they work best. When you think of teaching notes, you tend to think of, you know, typed up syllabi and everybody keeps their notes on computer and this, that and the other, but creative people tend to not do that. They tend to have copious amounts of these kind of notes. And it's a side of teaching that you don't get to see very often because so much of it is not secret, but it is covered by confidentiality agreements and things like that. So even things like syllabuses you often can't show because they don't belong to you. Student names, student information, even some of your own ideas don't belong to you because often you work for a college or you work for somebody else, and once you create that stuff on their behalf, it doesn't belong to you anymore. So I'm just blown away by this. I'm really looking forward to spending some time. Oh, there's her stack of composition notebooks that she went through in 3 years. So like I say, that's a big chunk of notebooks, isn't it? What's that? There's 5 there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 times 5. What's that? 70. 70 notebooks. And that's assuming that those aren't 2 different stacks. So that's assuming these are the same as those. That might be another stack of 70 for all I know. So, yeah, a really, really special look at a side of teaching and drawing that you really don't get to see very often. I am so excited to have a look through this book. It's, again, Syllabus by Lynda Barry, Notes from an Accidental Professor. It's published by D&Q, Drawn and Quarterly, and it is RRP $19.95 US. But I bought it on Amazon UK, and it was, I don't think it was the equivalent of $19.95. I think it was a little bit less than that. But yeah, this is going to be a fabulous book to have a play with and get some ideas from, and just, it's renewed my faith that it's okay to work like this when you're a teacher if you're doing art. So there you go. I hope that's been an interesting look at a new book for you, and I'll be back very soon with another one. Bye.